Today is April 30th, 2025. My name is Bobby Goodman, and I am interviewing Scott Cohen about his days at the Columbian Club. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Bobby.
Scott, we'll just jump right in here. Let me just ask you, when were you a member of the Columbian Club? When did...
I was born a member.
There you go.
So my grandfather and all of his siblings, 5 of them, were founding members. In my house, I have a picture of my grandparents, my mother, her siblings at the opening day of the Columbian Club.
Wow. In
a place that's still there, so that's pretty cool. So I grew up in that place.
And so you grew up as a son of a member?
My mom and dad were members. Mm-hmm. My dad was president of the club in 1983, the year I was bar mitzvahed. All of our bar and bat mitzvah parties were there. All of our family functions were there, Mother's Day, Father's Day, anything. My grandmother loved corralling the family to the Columbian Club, and I learned how to play golf there.
Wow. And then you, and we'll get into some of your memories growing up there, but then you became a member yourself?
When I graduated college in 1993, immediately upon graduation, I joined the club. There was a really good juniors legacy type program, which, I believe the fee was like $2,000. I don't know exactly, and the dues were nothing. So I joined immediately as an adult, and then started using it as an adult and paying my own bills and utilizing it even more.
Wow. So
I don't know about more, but I utilized it. We utilized it a lot as a kid, and we would get in trouble when the bill would come out every month. How many Cokes we had or push-ups we had. That grill by the pool, we just ate all. My dad would try to do a quota on how many soft drinks we all had each day, so it was fun.
So when you were a little boy growing up there, I guess everybody seemed older because you were a little kid.
Yeah.
When you ended up joining, what did the membership look like age-wise? People more your age, older?
No, I was definitely the youngest. When I joined, my buddy Rick Franklin and I both joined at the same time. We both graduated Texas at the same time. We were very young. You may recall that you were in that Walkers group, and that was all guys 10, 15, 20 years older than us, but we started playing with those guys. The guys we started playing with were not our age when we joined the club.
I see.
Yeah.
Going back to, I guess, when your folks joined, do you think any form of anti-Semitism played into their joining the Columbian Club?
Absolutely. My grandfather, backing up to him, he was a co-founder of a Dallas company that was really strong, and his banker, they banked at North Park Bank, and his banker in the late 1950s invited him to come play the Dallas Country Club, and he goes, "Are you sure?" Mm-hmm. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I didn't know we were allowed there. He goes, "No, you're allowed." And so my grandfather went there and went into the locker room to put on, as he called it, put on his spikes. And the locker room attendant came up to him and says, "You can't be in here." He said, "Why?" He goes, "Because we don't allow Jews in the clubhouse." Wow. And so my grandfather got in his car, and went back home. And the banker called him the next day and said, "Irwin, what happened?" He said, "Look, I was told I wasn't allowed in there, and I'm not coming there." And so, yes, my grandparents, my parents were not welcome at the other clubs at all.
What about, you said 1993, did you
Not,
feel
well,
any of that?
In 1986, I was as a junior golfer, I was not a member of the club, my parents were. However, the various elite clubs in town, which the Columbian Club was semi-elite, we had a good golf course is what allowed us to participate with other clubs. We had good food. They liked keeping us over there on the other side of the tracks. But Northwood had the Northwood Junior Invitational. And so it was summer of '86. I wasn't 16 yet. And so my mom dropped me off, and she pulled up their driveway. And outside the pro shop, they had a table with these 3 big trophies on it. And so we played the tournament. And what they did is they did a shotgun start. There was no golf carts. We had to walk out to our hole and play and walk back. And so I won the tournament, And so they said, hey, the tournament's over, thanks for coming, and we're not having any ceremony. I was like, that's weird. I thought I saw trophies when I pulled up here. Came home, told my mom. My mom was, a public school teacher. She wasn't going to have anything of it. So the next morning she woke me up. She said, you need to get up. You need to go to Northwood Country Club. They have your trophy for you. So I said, Mom, you're going to have to drive me. She was fine. I'm happy. We pulled in the parking lot, and the two assistants were meeting us halfway down the driveway, and they just kind of motioned for us to pull the window down, and hand it to me, and they just turned around. They were not happy that I had won that tournament. So that was in the mid-'80s.
Wow.
So there was still, anti-Semitism, unfortunately. People in Dallas don't like to have admitted that. But remember, the Mavericks only came to Dallas in 1980 because Bill Russell told the NBA in the 60s and 70s that if they put a team in Dallas, his people weren't going to come play. Because when he went to an exhibition game in the 60s, it was terrible. And I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know. Dallas was the most it was the most bigoted big city in America for a number of years. It's not now, but it was then.
Wow. Let's move over a little bit about your involvement at the Columbian Club. What was your relationship at the Columbian Club? Were you ever on any committees?
When I was in my early 20s, they invited me to be a junior member of the board. Actually, no, it was mid-20s because my wife and I were dating, and the board had a night. I remember when they would serve the food for the staff, and my wife and I have fond memories of that night. So I was on the board. It was a junior member of the board. I didn't have a vote, and Everett Rosenberg was the president. Him and Harold Cooper were kind of running the board, and they had a meeting with me before the first board meeting that I went to, and they said, we strategically selected you. You have the lineage, and we like you, and we want you to know that don't go against the grain with us. So I was like, okay. So they go, if you have anything that you may not like that we're saying, we can talk about it. They didn't say the words offline because it wasn't offline back then, but they said we can talk about it otherwise. But I was on the board. I was on the membership committee. That was the involvement.
Wow, you were involved. Let's talk a little bit about your the activities that you participated at the club, and some of the memories. Obviously, you're a great golfer. You use the golf course. What other things did you do at the club?
As a kid, my parents would drop us off in the morning, and they'd pick us up after work. So we would have the run of the club. We would swim. I would swim, golf. We fished a lot on the dock. My dad was fond of putting kosher hot dogs on the hooks, and we really had a lot of fond fishing memories out there. Off the dock, we would also go down, kind of over near the dam, near the old 14 green. There was great fish over there, and the golf was great. I fell in love with the game of golf at the Columbian Club. I got to play with my dad a ton, my grandfather a bunch. Met some of my closest friends came from growing up playing golf out there, and I got to, learn how to excel at golf out there.
They have a pretty good junior golf program.
They didn't. No, I had to find competition outside. To say I won the junior club championship umpteen times is an understatement. There wasn't any competition for me. But as an adult, I won the club championship 3 times, which I was happy about. So there was competition then, for sure.
Swimming pool, tennis.
Swimming pool. We were camped out in the swimming pool. Mm-hmm. And look, as an adult, when Barbie and I started raising our children, our girls grew up at that swimming pool. Mm-hmm. We spent a ton of time as parents with our children at that swimming pool, going out to dinners there. When the Columbian Club, when we had to go vote there was a vote we had to go do, and I forget what it was for. But Casey, my oldest, had a soccer tournament, and but we had to vote that day, so I had to swing by with her at the club. And they had just moved out of the clubhouse into these trailer homes, and so maybe when they became an honors club. Anyways, when she saw it for the first time, she started bawling. It was a part of her. It was our girls have so many fond memories of that property, and so we were there a ton. I had a surprise birthday party for Barbie out there. We We had our children's birthday parties out there. The famous lobster night the club had, we would go every time. We would go with the same people. We still have fond memories. In fact, we were with Rick Franklin recently, and Barbie and I were talking with him about some of those lobster nights. So we loved going to the club. It was disappointing when it ended.
Right. When you were younger, I think you alluded to we did this, we did that. You siblings?
My sister, my older sister Kay, my younger sister Winnie, my younger brother Mark. The four of us were literally dropped off there, and with our cousins. I grew up. There was 10 of us in the Walden cousins. My Erwin and Maxie Walden had 10 first cousins, all living in Dallas. We were all dropped off there together, and we were. Sometimes the parents would be there, but most of the time they weren't. It was a good place to get your kids taken care of for the day.
The importance of the club to you, personally?
Look, the club was very important to me. As I said, I was born into it, and I became an active member. I golfed there, made a lot of good friends. My wife and I would frequent the dining there. She learned to golf there. We didn't, I learned to play tennis growing up there, yes, but we didn't really. The tennis program wasn't one that was attractive to lure you away from the pool and the golf. And look, the food at the Columbian Club back then, the entire time I was at the Columbian Club, which was the first 37 years of my life, the food was the best anywhere. So to want to go, let's go meet at the club for dinner was an easy one.
Right. Common theme of the Columbian Club about the food.
Yeah.
What are a couple of your favorite menu items?
I mean, I ate the grilled cheese. That was mine. They cut it up into little triangles, 4 of them. I told them not to leave the pineapple out. I'd have grilled cheese, fries, and ketchup, and a long sliced pickle every time. In fact, when I got married, the weekend of our wedding, my dad hosted a lunch that Friday after the wedding rehearsal. He had all the groomsmen come out to the Columbian Club for lunch, and he had a menu, and on it was Scott's grilled cheese. So that was my go-to for sure, and I loved the chocolate sundae out there was incredible. But the theme nights, the theme night, the fried chicken night, the lobster nights, the enchilada nights, the Thai food nights. I think it was Penny's Thai food. All that food was. The Columbian Club had the best spring rolls anywhere. Whenever we'd go to an event there, I'd have immediately 5 or 6 of them just to get the night going. So, and the bar, although there wasn't a lot of drinking out there, the bartenders were always very involved and friendly with the members. And the wait staff, you knew the wait staff; they were like extended family. I could tell you names of all the waiters growing up that we just spent a lot of time with.
Sounds like dining was at a premium at the Columbian Club.
Yeah.
Also, any of the holidays, I assume that your family spent some...
Look, we did. My grandmother would reserve the entire Phoenix room for her family, which I was a part of. So any family event was there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You mentioned Rick Franklin. You met some friends growing up out there. Other friends that you made?
My cousin Greg Weinstein and I, he's a few years older than me, but he was instrumental in mentoring me in golf, and then we, as adults, became golf pals. Rick Franklin and I were very, very close, still are. Benji Friedman and I grew up playing a lot of junior golf. He was, 3 or 4 years older than me. Also, I was playing with older kids, but there wasn't a ton of junior golfers out there. As adults, I was playing with older guys. Greg Singer and I became really good friends. Joel Ray and I became really good friends. We had every Friday for a long time. It was the Friday group was me, the head pro Tom Struber, Greg Singer, Jack Zablotsky, who was a fine golfer, and my cousin Justin Small. My cousin, we obviously golfed a bunch out there together. He was off and on being a member. He was a member one year, not the next. He'd come to the member guest, rejoin. You can come and go at the Columbian Club pretty quickly because there wasn't really. Sometimes there wasn't initiation fees for the junior members, and if there was, there wasn't anything to make you think about when you would quit again. But a lot of great friends out there.
Still in contact with a lot of them?
Oh yeah, all of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Want to share you have any particular memories that something that may have happened that you'd like to share, or?
Look, when I grew up, I idolized Freddie Avalon. Okay, he won, I think, 19 club championships.
Wow.
So, fast forward, Freddie switched to left-handed, was really good, and then he switched back to right-handed. He became a scratch plus golfer again. So now I'm 27 years old, and I'm playing really good golf. And that summer, every Saturday and Sunday, I was out there. We didn't have any children yet. Barbie and I were expecting our first, and it was known that I was just beating everybody all summer, and so I was the heavy favorite going in to the club championship, and I'd never won it. And so I went out in the first round and played really well and was winning, but Freddie was in second place. And then the second round, Freddie and I played together, and the first 10 holes, I hit every fairway and every green, and one of them was a par 5, and so I two-putted for birdie, so I was 1 under, and then made a sloppy bogey. I'm not going to be too long here. Made a sloppy bogey on 11, 12, and 13. So the lead goes from like probably 7 to 3 shots. And then 14, trying to play it safe. I hit a little too much club. I knocked it over the green. Made a double bogey. So now I'm down to 1 shot lead from a big lead just not too long ago. And we get in the car, and I'm not thrilled. And Freddie looks at me and goes, "Hey, you've got this. Play your game." And so that was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, think about that. He could have been completely the opposite. He could have stepped on the throat, and probably it would have been a tough hill for me to climb. But I said, "You're right." In my mind, I'm like, "Thank you." And I walked up there and hit a great drive, had a great par, and parred the rest of the holes and won by a couple of strokes over him. But I will tell you, that's a pretty cool memory from someone that was really an icon out there. We used to have a for Freddie Avalon, there was a plaque. He had a parking spot that said how many club championships he won. And I will tell you, when I would go around to different clubs around the city, all the old caddies at Royal Oaks or Lakewood or Northwood or Brook Hollow, any of them, would say, "Man, Mr. Avalon was the best." He would not just win our club championship, he would win the greater. When you win the club championship, you then go play in a tournament against all the other club champions, and he would win that too.
Wow. That's a great golf story.
Yeah.
Scott, why do you think the Columbian Club, in your opinion, why it ended up closing?
You know, the way clubs operate successfully, it's not a new thing. It's that they have their dues cover their annual operating, and if there's ever a shortfall, they assess the members to clean up the books that year. And they use initiation fees to build up capital reserve for when the roof is leaking or they need to redo some part of the clubhouse or the golf course. And so the Columbian Club lived hand to mouth for a long time and didn't have the reserves, and when it was time to do things to propel it into the future, nobody wanted to pay for it. They were used to the free ride. You know, and it started way back when all those homes around the club, they were sold to pay off the original mortgage, which, you know, hindsight, I remember my grandfather talking about how terrible of a move that was. But when I got on the board in my 20s, I remember my uncle told me, he's like, "Now, you're going to walk in there, this isn't a business that you're used to seeing. The club loses money." He goes, "I'm letting you know that so you don't share any of your feelings or thoughts about it." He goes, "It is what it is." And so the club was never making money, and it was always using initiation fees to cover their problems. And then when people didn't want to join anymore, instead of assessing the members or increasing the dues, the club went into, we were talking about the decline of the club. So the club was not ever operating in a positive fashion, and people never wanted to pay the dues that were necessary to keep it going, and they didn't. The club, relied for too long on initiation fees to cover their shortfalls, and so when people stopped joining, and the product declined, and there were other clubs at the same time were allowing Jews to join them, and Jews were finding going to at the time, I think the first few were just Bentry and Glen Eagles. They were finding that those facilities were better, and that they found that their golf courses were kept up, even though ours was kept up great. We didn't have the budget to keep our course like we should have, and so we went into a lot of debt, and then all of a sudden the debt became $1 million, became $5 million, became $6, $7, or $8 million. I don't remember the number. But it got to a point that it was the club failed, and the leadership for a number of years, I would say, starting in the 90s, was did not serve the future of the club well. In hindsight, I'm sure at the time they thought they were doing the great thing, and nothing was malicious, But I remember when we redid the golf course in '99. We closed it in '99 for the year, and opened it up a year later. They did it on debt, and instead of assessing all the members. And so when it came time to, I think every member needed to put in like $25,000 or $30,000. The vote didn't pass, right. And so. And at the end of the clubbing club, when I grew up, it was a friendly, inviting, everybody was talking place. But then my friends and I used to joke that the clubbing club rule was don't say hi to someone unless they say hi to you first, because people were really a lot of people were walking around stuck up and were too cool for school, and it was not a collegial, fraternal environment. And then what I found is I joined other clubs, and they were these new clubs I joined were very fraternal, very collegial, very inviting to new members, welcoming, and it was just quite the opposite of what the clubbing club ended up being. People weren't happy to be there at the end.
So do you think a Columbian Club could exist today?
Well, I don't think you could recreate it, no. The barriers, I was invited to join a club by the club president that I would have gotten in within a year, one of the most prestigious clubs in town that back in the day wouldn't have allowed Jews. There's no barriers for Jews to join clubs. The Columbian Club was put in place because the Jews weren't welcome anywhere, and so that's not going to happen again. And this Jewish community is not going to support it.
Scott, are you familiar with the new Columbian Club?
Yeah, we've been there
with
Brian Rudd, and he's done a great job. And Barbie and I went, and we had a nice time. It was fun. I've been there a few times. We had a nice time. It was fun. It was just being in a place called the Columbian Club was cool, but it wasn't the Columbian Club. Going back out to the property, which is now Mary Doe, that's special being on that property. I can go to the same place where my mom and her siblings and her parents, my grandparents, had that picture on opening day. I know exactly where it is to have the picture, and it's still right there. So the property is still there, and going out there brings a lot of great memories for me.
Awesome. So before I ask my final question, is there any thing that I may not have asked that you'd like to share, or before I ask the final question?
Look, I think that the heyday of the Columbian Club was in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. When my dad was president in 1983, the club had a waiting list of people trying to get in. They redid the clubhouse back then the right way. But at some point, the membership didn't want to support it at a level that was necessary, and so the demise started. It was a long wind of a demise, which ultimately ended it. And everybody wanted to know what happened at the end of the day, but nobody wanted to pay for it. It was sad, but what that created was new beginnings to other places. So I think that everybody moved on, and everybody found their groove somewhere else. And I think that at the end of the day, it was a luxury to be a member of the Columbian Club, and I think that people decided that at some point that luxury wasn't worth what they thought it was, and they stopped paying for it. So it wasn't personal.
Right. So here's my final question. When I bring up the word Columbian Club, what's the first thing that goes through your mind?
Happiness. I love the Columbian Club. I wish, Mary Doe was called the Columbian Club. I know they don't want to be, because it is what it is, but to me it's a happy thing. It's a smile, loving place. Look, I spent my entire childhood going up there frequently, and as an adult we raised our children there, often. So we loved that place, and it brought great joy to my parents and my siblings, and it brought great joy to my grandparents. My grandmother, Maxine Waldman, loved the Columbian Club, and she loved going there, and she was as active as a member as anyone, and she only would golf, I guess, when my grandfather wanted her to, but she wasn't a golfer. She had clubs, and so it was a happy place. And just because it didn't end well doesn't mean it wasn't a great place. It was an amazing country club, and I wouldn't have changed anything about it.
Awesome. Scott, thank you so much for sharing your memories of the Columbian Club.
Yep, thanks for
really
having me. That was
appreciate
fun.
it. Thank you.
That was fun, Bobby.